Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Judges, the 8th chapter. As we saw in the 7th chapter, the Lord began to deliver the Midianites into the hand of Gideon. So this is Judges chapter 8, verse 1. And the men of Ephraim said unto him, Why hast thou served us thus, that thou callest us not, when thou wentest to fight with the Midianites? And they did chide with him sharply. So they were basically upset, saying, Why didn't you call us, in the beginning when you first went to engage with them, and basically called us late to the battle, like, what's up? And as it says, they did chide with him sharply, meaning like it started to get heated, this back and forth. And he said unto them, What have I done now in comparison of you? Is not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? Now remember that Gideon was of the family of Abiezer. Now, what he's saying here is, you may be upset, but really, in comparison to what I've accomplished versus you, you guys far outdo, what I did. And that's why he makes this analogy here to say the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim. The gleaning of the grapes is basically after the harvest, the little, remains that are left of the harvest. Those are that, like, when they go to get those and pick those are the gleaning of those grapes. And he's saying even the end, or the little that's left after your harvest, is better than my vintage or my gathering, or the gathering of my family. God hath delivered into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeb. And what was I able to do in comparison of you? See, so he's saying, yeah, I may have started the battle. Yeah, I may have, engaged with them, and you were called late to it, but you ended up taking out the actual princes. The Lord gave them into your hand. So really, you accomplished more than me. Then their anger was abated towards him, and when he had said that, so they basically calmed down after that. And Gideon came to Jordan and passed over, he and the 300 men that were with him, faint, yet pursuing them. So they were tired, right? They were probably hungry, tired, but yet they kept on chasing after the Midianites. And that is right around here. Actually right around here, as per this map, that is, they crossed over Jordan, right, and continued to chase after the Midianite army. And he said unto the men of Succoth, which is on the east here of Jordan, right here, Give, I pray you, loaves of bread unto the men, or unto the people that follow me, for they be faint, and I am pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, kings of Midian. And the princes of Succoth said, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thine army? So, yeah, you pursuing them, but have you actually caught them? So you asking us to give you bread, and you ain't even, for what? Why don't you go and get the job done first, and then you come and ask for bread? And Gideon said, Therefore, when the Lord Yahweh hath delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into mine hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars. And he went up thence to Penuel, and spake unto them likewise. And the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered him. So they basically gave him the same kind of response. And he spake also unto the men of Penuel, saying, When I come again in peace, I will break down this tower. Now Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor, and their hosts with them, about 15,000 men, all that were left of all the hosts of the children of the east, for there fell 120,000 men that drew sword. So Zebah and Zalmunna were with those that remained, that survived from that first battle, from that first onslaught. and they had fled, right, with these men here that remained. And so going back to the map, we can see here, right, that now they had basically fled and retreated to Karkor over here. And Gideon went up by the way of them that dwelt in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbeha, and smote the host, for the host was secure. So he basically caught them off guard, right? Because they thought that they were good over here, and he basically flanked them. He came around, all right, and caught them slipping, as you would say. And when Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued after them and took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and discomfited all the host. So he basically smote all the host and took their kings. And Gideon the son of Joash returned from battle before the sun was up. So remember, they had initiated the battle in the middle watch, right? So this all transpired all throughout that night, and they were able to successfully capture these 2 kings and defeat the remaining host of the Midianites before the sun came back up. So before sunrise. And caught a young man of the men of Succoth. Remember, that was that city that refused to feed his men, gave him that arrogant response. So he ends up catching one of the men that was of that city, and he asked of him and inquired of him, and he described unto him the princes of Succoth and the elders thereof, even 70 men. So that's what, 60, so 77, about 77 men. And he did that because, remember, he said that he would tear their flesh. He was basically gonna scourge them, but he was looking for the elders and the princes, because they're the ones who would decide, right? They're the ones who decided the reply that should be given to Gideon when he asked for bread. So he finds out, okay, this is what they look like. All right, so we know who our targets are. And he came unto the men of Succoth and said, Behold, Zebah and Zalmunna, with whom ye did upbraid me. And the word upbraid is like to, let's pull it up here, but it's like to speak sharply against, you could say, to put it loosely. So here it says to reproach, to taunt, to blaspheme, to defy, to rail. Okay. So he brings them and he says, remember how you told me, are they yet in your hand? So as it says, with whom ye did upbraid me, saying, are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thy men that are weary? And he took the elders of the city, and thorns of the wilderness, and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. Now, when it says he taught them, this was this is like an idiom for to make them understand with pain, i.e. he taught them a painful lesson, you could say, by whooping their ass, with the the scourges of thorns and briars. And he beat down the tower of Penuel, which was the next city that refused to give him bread, and slew the men of the city. Then said he unto Zebah and Zalmunna, what manner of men were they whom ye slew at Tabor? And they answered, as thou art, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. So he was inquiring, the men that you slew when you guys, were over up there at Tabor, what did they look like? Describe them. And they responded, well, they were like you. They looked like, children of a king. And he said, they were my brethren, even the sons of my mother. So those are my brothers. As the Lord Yahweh liveth, if ye had saved them alive, I would not slay you. So if you hadn't killed them, I would have spared your life. And he said unto Jether his firstborn, up and slay them. But the youth drew not his sword, for he feared, because he was yet a youth. So his son was still inexperienced, still young, and so he was afraid. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said, rise thou and fall upon us, For as the man is, so is his strength. So basically, you do it. You know, the strength of a man, determines the man. And you being a man of war with experience, you go ahead and do it. Be a man and do it yourself. And also, in the ancient world, the to be put to death, say by a child or a youth or one that is inexperienced, was like a disgraceful, embarrassing thing, right? So it was more honorable to die by the hands of one that was, say, valiant. Okay. So it says here, and took away the ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Oh, Slakia. And Gideon arose and slew Zebah and Zalmunna, and took away the ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Then the men of Israel said unto Gideon, Rule thou over us, both thou and thy son, and thy son's son also. For thou hast delivered us from the hand of Midian. So you become a king over us, rule over us. Become our leader. You basically delivered us. And Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord Yahweh shall rule over you. So it's kind of like saying you already have a king, right? And that's Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So, I'm not gonna take that role. And Gideon said unto them, I would desire a request of you, that ye would give me every man the earrings of his prey. The prey being the Midianites that they had basically taken, right? He says, give me all the earrings, the gold earrings from them. For they had golden earrings because they were Ishmaelites. All right, which goes to show you here the Midianites being of that same company of the Ishmaelites, as it says. And they answered, We will willingly give them. And they spread a garment, and did cast therein every man the earrings of his prey. And the weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, beside the ornaments, beside meaning not even counting the ornaments and collars and purple raiment that was on the kings of Midian, and beside the chains that were about their camels' necks, so not even including those. And Gideon made an ephod thereof, and put it in his city, even in Ophrah. And all Israel went thither a whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. So he basically made an error in doing this, because it now became an opportunity for sin within Israel, because once again, they started to go whoring after it, i.e. to idolize it, and then eventually to worship it. Verse 28, Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted up their heads no more. And the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. And Jerubbaal, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house, Jerubbaal being Gideon. And so it's just interchangeable here. And Gideon had 70 sons, that's 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son, whose name was Abimelech. And Gideon, the son of Joash, died in a good old age, and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash his father, in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again, and went a whoring after Baalim, and made Baal Berith their god. And the children of Israel remembered not the Lord Yahweh their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. Neither shewed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had shewed unto Israel. So they didn't, after he died, and they went back to their idol worship, they didn't show that loyalty, or favor, as in return for the things that he and his house had done in delivering them, obviously by the hand of the Lord, from the Midianites. And that brings us to the end of the book of Judges, the 8th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh, and until next time, Shalom.